Hey, what song you listen to?
Monkey Spinning Monkeys by Kevin McCloud.
Alright.
Music. One of the many forms of escapism and entertainment in our world. Love it or hate it, you've heard some form of music before. I mean, it's kind of an inevitability since music is used almost everywhere. Personally, I'm more on the casual side when it comes to music. I don't mind listening to whatever song is popular for the year, but I do get kind of sick of hearing it over and over again after a while, especially once social media gets its hands on it. Really, the only music I truly enjoy listening to are video game soundtracks, Japanese music, and most importantly, music by 21 Pilots. This is really the only artist that I've ever been super invested in, with Coldplay and Eminem being second and third respectively, but definitely not as much. Anyways, with the highly anticipated new 21 Pilots album coming in the near future, it feels like the right time to talk about my experience with them so far. Also, keep in mind that this won't necessarily be an in-depth review of their discography or anything like that. Rather, it's just my retrospective of some of the eras surrounding their albums that I've been through. I'll still add some of my thoughts on a few things, but that's really it. Alright, we cool? Cool. But first, I need to explain who these guys are. I'm sure a good handful of people already know about this band, but I don't think they're as known as the artists that are known today. So, let's start from the beginning, shall we? 2009. 21 Pilots is formed by three college mates, Tyler Joseph, Chris Salih, and Nick Thomas. They would soon independently release their self-titled debut album. Fun fact, Tyler got the name of the band while he was studying the play All My Sons by Arthur Miller, where a salesman has to decide whether or not to sell faulty plane parts in order to support his family. He ends up selling those parts, which result in the death of, 21 pilots. Since Tyler wanted his music to make listeners think, he felt this name was fitting since the story behind it makes us think about moral dilemma and how sometimes in life we have to make difficult choices. So you may be asking, what kind of music do these guys make anyway? Good question. They're almost always changing their style with every album they make, so songs usually range from sounds sad but has hopeful lyrics to sounds happy but has rather dark and depressing lyrics. 2011. Two of the three members, Chris and Nick, leave the band to pursue other things. Soon after, Chris's co-worker Josh Dunn joins and the band becomes what it is today. Later that summer, the band releases their second album, Regional at Best, again independently. And this is the first time we actually see the band use the logo that they're known for today. Not too long after that, the band gets signed by the record label called Fueled by Ramen. 2013. The band releases their first album under a record label and their third album in general titled Vessel. Around the same time, the previous albums were discontinued and only the self-titled album remained digital. Part of the reason Regional at Best never saw the light of day again was that by the time the band got signed, they had written new songs, so their label gave them a choice to either keep Regional at Best as is, and I guess professionally release it under the record label, or discontinue it and release Vessel, which contains a mix of some re-recorded Regional at Best tracks and the new songs that were previously mentioned. Obviously, they chose the latter. Japan and the UK are lucky though, because they got bonus track editions of Vessel that came with a few more songs from Regional at Best that were ports rather than re-recordings. 2015 rolls around and soon, the era where I and many other fans got our start had begun. The era of...
Wish we could turn back time to the good old days.
Blurryface was the album that brought the band into the mainstream. However, it didn't happen right away. They had released a couple singles before that song came out, and instead they weren't too well received by fans at first, since it gave off different vibes than what they've seen before. When that song did eventually come out, it ended up being a massive success for the band. And what is that song, you may ask? None other than Stressed Out. Today, it's not exactly my most favorite song from them. It's definitely up there, but I do think I've heard better songs from them. But back in middle school, when I first heard it on the radio, I was definitely super into it. Another song that was a big hit for them was Ride. And it's funny because this was another song I was really into, but I didn't realize it was them until I actually started getting invested into the band, when it came up on playlists of theirs that I'd listened to. I'd eventually listened to the entire Blurryface album and loved it enough that it became the first CD ever that I'd buy. This era also saw the release of Heathens, a track made for that one DC movie that was definitely a massive success. I'll admit, I didn't care about the movie itself when I first watched it. I really only wanted to hear the song in a theater environment. Hey, I was 12, cut me some slack. Anyways, maybe around a couple months after I had started listening to this band, I eventually stumbled upon their older works. I listened to Vessel, loved it, and now Car Radio is my favorite song of all time. Unfortunately, I didn't exactly feel the same way for Self-Titled and Regional at Best as I do now when I first heard them. I think my main problem with those albums back then were mainly the vocals, since they sounded pretty different compared to Vessel and everything after that. Over time, these two albums had grown on me, and Regional at Best had even become my favorite album from the band. Also, just because I say it's my favorite doesn't mean I think it's their best. I know many people will say that it sounds very budgety compared to their later works, and while that is true, I think that's part of the charm, since it was made in a time before the band had gotten big, when they were nobody, as they stated. You can see how much of a Regional Best fan I am. As for the self-titled album, I definitely enjoy it more than I did before, but I'll get more into that later, since I'm getting pretty sidetracked right now. 21 Pilots ended up winning the Grammy for Best Music Group/Duo for Stressed Out. And they did the unthinkable when accepting their award. They accepted it in their underwear. Wow. Now I'm sure some of you will see this and say something along the lines of, why would they do that? That's so unprofessional. But in retrospect, I think it was a brave and inspirational thing to do. Just maybe keep it as a one-time thing, though. Now I say it was inspirational because in their acceptance speech, they talked about how around the time Tyler and Josh first started making music together in 2011, they watched the Grammys together at Tyler's apartment, and both didn't realize until halfway through that they were both in their underwear. Then they both agreed that if they were to ever make it big and win a Grammy, they'd accept that award just like that, in their underwear. And in 2015, that's exactly what happened. I was definitely moved by this, and it sparked my interest in learning more about the band and seeing their starting points and seeing how they've grown to where they are today. In February 2017, the music video for Heavydirtysoul, another song that was on Blurryface, was released, and shortly after that, the band announced that they would be going dark very soon. Basically, a hiatus. Nowadays, even though the fans called it a hiatus, Tyler and Josh didn't consider it to be one, since they were still working on new music during that period of silence, which is something I can get behind. Rather, it was just them taking a step back from the media to solely focus on their next album. Shortly before the band was due to go dark, for a few days, they would post on Twitter an image with a few song lyrics and an eye that would slowly close with every post they'd make. The final image was eventually posted with the eye completely closing. Speaking of Twitter, I hadn't mentioned this before, but back when the era first began, the band created a Twitter account under the name Blurryface, since it's not just the name of the album, but also the name of a character surrounding that album, who represents Tyler's doubts and insecurities. Kind of similar to Melanie Martinez's Crybaby. This Twitter account would post various cryptic tweets throughout the era that would hint at things like when a new music video is coming, But right now I just want you to keep the existence of this account in mind for later. Anyways, in July of 2017, the hiatus had begun, and the Blurryface era had ended. Around the time this happened, 21 Pilots made one final appearance, this being at the Alternative Press Magazine Awards, to accept their award for Best Dedicated Fanbase. However, only Josh was there to receive the reward since Tyler was, according to Josh,
he's actually off severing ties with Dima.
In reality, Tyler was just busy working on the next album, but obviously this was a tease as to what was coming next. Funnily enough, I had no idea that any of this was going on since I didn't even have a phone at the time, so I wasn't able to keep up with the latest news. And because of this, I thought the band was going to release a new album in 2017, since there had always been a 2-year gap between albums. After 2017 came and went and nothing happened, I was just like, huh? It wasn't until July of 2018, after a whole year of staying silent, where 21 Pilots would make their grand return, which leads us into the era of... I know the previous segment ended with July 2018, but let's rewind a bit by a few months to April 2018, when the hiatus was still going. People started finding a hidden URL in one of the GIFs in the band's online merch store. When typing in that URL on the search bar, you are taken to a page that shows a 404 error with a message underneath it that reads, "You are in violation. They mustn't know you are here. No one should ever find out about this. You can never tell anyone about this. For the sake of the other's survival, you must keep this silent. We must keep this silent. No one can know. No one can know. No one can know." People were freaking out about this, since they believed that this could not only be a tease to the band's return, but also how it could be connected to what Josh stated about this thing called Dima. Sure enough, a few days later, people found out that adding the violation code that was under the message next to the URL would lead to another page filled with maps, cryptic GIFs, and images, and letters written by an unknown character named Clancy. Thanks to the letters, we found out that Dima is a fictional city ruled by 9 bishops. Fun fact, the violation code 153-98642_14 corresponds to the 9 circles that are on the Blurryface album, since each circle has a pattern that matches with a specific track, and is placed in the same order as the violation code. Even though this hidden lore had its true start in Blurryface, since there were some hints here and there in that album, these hidden websites were where fans started having a better understanding of what was going on. Throughout the next couple of months, more letters from Clancy and more GIFs and images were added, and keep in mind, I still had no idea that any of this was even happening. Finally, we reached July 2018, and just a few days before 21 Pilots would make their big return, they posted a series of images of a closed vulture eye that would slowly open with each post, mirroring what they did at the end of the Blurryface era. With the return of the band came 2 new songs, Jumpsuit and Nico and the Niners. During the time that this happened, I was helping my dad wash the car, and I was listening to music with a small radio. Once I heard the radio anchor say the phrases 21 Pilots and new song in the same sentence, I stopped everything and put all my attention to the new song, which was Jumpsuit. I was that excited. Later, I borrowed my dad's computer to check in on the band. I saw that they had a complete makeover with different logos and different colors. The Blurryface era had this emo punk-like feel with black and red as the main colors, and now it was mostly yellow and olive green, with Tyler and Josh wearing camouflage sweaters with yellow tape. I watched the first music video of the era, which was for Jumpsuit, and listened to the other single that had come out, Nico and the Niners. I say listened to the second single since there was no video for Nico and the Niners yet. Fun fact, if you listen to the beginning part of this song in reverse, you can make out these phrases. Take a listen. Yeah, more on what that means a bit later. Anyways, I loved both of these songs. However, for the music video, I didn't think anything of it other than, whoa, that was a cool video, since I just saw it as any other 21 Pilots music video. A week or two later, the Nico and the Niners music video would release, and when I saw that it was a continuation of the Jumpsuit music video, that was when I realized that the band was trying to tell some kind of story. The next video to come out was for the song Levitate, and this one continued where Nico and the Niners left off. What I didn't know, however, was that the story wasn't solely being told through music videos. Rather, it was mainly being told through the hidden lore. For now at least. And these 3 videos were meant to give us a good idea of the world surrounding this lore. So when the 4th music video of the era came out, which was for the song My Blood, I was confused since it had nothing to do with what we had seen with the last 3 videos. I legit thought that the story somehow wasn't working for them and they simply just gave up on it. Boy, was I wrong! At this point, I want to sidetrack for a bit and briefly summarize the story surrounding Trench, since it will be important going forward. So basically, there's this city called Dima that is ruled by 9 bishops, who enforce a religion onto their citizens called vialism. The goal or point of vialism is that you are called to impact as many lives as possible, and then ultimately end your own. Tragic, I know. But those who fully commit to this religion are rewarded and honored with a neon gravestone, which makes it seem like a good thing, but in reality it isn't. This is implied from a line in the song Neon Gravestones, which goes,
My opinion, our culture can treat a loss like it's a win, and right before
Clancy, the one who wrote the hidden messages, is one of the few people who know the truth and tries to leave the city for good, but is always captured and taken back by one of the bishops. A rebel group that lives outside of Dima, known as the Bandidos, tries to help those living in the city escape from it. Tyler, who is also part of the story and kind of serves as a blank slate so that viewers can kind of step into his shoes, ends up getting help from the Bandidos, only to get captured and taken back to the city as well. The Dima trilogy of music videos are meant to be seen as a kind of cyclical narrative. So Tyler leaves Dima, gets captured and taken back, he leaves again, and he gets taken back again. Rinse and repeat. It's meant to represent how we can escape the struggles of mental health, but it won't always last for long, and we end up back where we started. However, in the song Leave the City, Tyler says that one day he will escape Dima for good, but for now he will stay alive and not succumb to vialism. Basically, that message of hope. By now I'm sure you have the basic idea of what's going on here, so I am going to leave it at that for now. It definitely goes much deeper than this, though, so if you're interested, I'll link a few other videos that go into more depth with this story in the description. Moving on, October 5th, 2018, Trench is released and is praised by many fans and critics alike. Unfortunately, I wasn't one of those people, at the time at least. I don't really know why, maybe I was just more picky back then. Like, if I didn't like the first 4 or 5 seconds of a song, I'd instantly skip it. Or maybe I just wasn't used to the new vibe the album gave when I first heard it. I don't know for sure. I still enjoyed songs like Jumpsuit and Levitate and My Blood, Chlorine, and The Hype, but everything else just wasn't clicking for me back then for some reason. It feels weird looking back at how the album I now consider to be 21 Pilots' best work was the one that made me start to experience burnout. Heck, I didn't even buy the CD of this album at first. Anyways, throughout the next year and a half, I was kind of on and off of the band, which kind of sucked because I had finally gotten a phone by the end of 2018, and due to this burnout, I wasn't really keeping up with the band, which kept me from finding out about the hidden lore and all that. During that time, nothing really replaced 21 Pilots for me, rather, I just kind of set them on the side for a good while and only gave them my full attention when something like a music video came out. Which, keep in mind, were completely unrelated to the Dima storyline, so they weren't really having me on the edge of my seat or anything. Although, I did like the character they introduced in the Chlorine video, named Ned. Just look at him, He looks like a neat little dude. Enter 2020, the year Tyler and Josh finally announced their plans to re-release Regional at Best. Man, I love Sleep and how it lets us have these made-up experiences we call dreams. Yeah, it was 2020. I'm sure you already know what happened that year. We were stuck in our homes for a good while and had no idea what the future held in store for us. At least it gave Tyler a chance to spend time with his newborn baby named Rosie. In April 2020, 21 Pilots announced that they would be releasing a song titled Level of Concern, and donate the profits made to a charity dedicated to helping live music venues and those involved with them who were struggling due to the pandemic. It was this song that got me out of my burnout and even motivated me to not only give Trench a second chance, but even give their old music another chance as well. And I ended up enjoying myself with these albums more than I thought I would. I already talked about my love for Regional at Best, so I'll briefly talk about Self-Titled and Trench. With Self-Titled, I still have issues with the vocals, but the lyrics fascinated me, and even though it pales in comparison to later works, I still think it's a calm listen, for most songs at least, that I enjoy coming back to. With Trench, although it didn't become my favorite album of the whole discography, I could now agree that it was definitely the best one the band has made. I was even able to catch up on the lore that I had missed out, which made me love the album even more. A couple months passed by and the band tweets this. People soon realized that these numbers were showing a date and time. That date and time eventually came and a cryptic live stream had started on the band's YouTube channel. This turned out to be an alternate reality game, or an ARG, where you'd find 20 codes hidden all over the internet, as they said, by using clues given in downloadable drives that they would provide. These codes would range from being found in subtitles of music videos to being made out of buildings found on Google Maps. The first 500 people to solve these codes would receive a special flash drive that would be mailed to their house. Everyone else would receive a link to participate in the band's first ever Endless music video. I wasn't really part of this since, 1, it definitely would have been way too complicated for me, and 2, online school was still going on at the time, so if my brain were to tackle both this and web design, it'd likely overheat. After that, nothing much happened with the band for most of the year thanks to the pandemic, other than a few at-home appearances in the media. It wasn't until December of that year that Tyler held a Christmas party live stream on Twitch, where he unveiled the band's first ever Christmas song, Christmas Saves the Year. Me and many others definitely enjoyed this song, although I do think this song only truly works for 2020 since it has lyrics that loosely reference the pandemic. But that doesn't keep me from listening to it a lot during the holidays. My parents also got me the Trench CD for Christmas, so I guess you can say I had a pretty good holiday that year. Also, something that I and other fans noticed on the cover of this Christmas song was the present in the background with the name Clancy on it. Remember him? You know, the guy who wrote all those hidden letters? But that's not the only thing. If you look closer, you can see a hidden message saying, "Psy is propaganda." Wonder what that's all about. Something that also raised some questions was the fact that the never-ending music video from earlier, ended. Thanks, Josh. 2020 finally came to an end, thank goodness, and 2021 had begun. At the same time, the band changed the banners of all their socials with this image. It seemed normal at first, until late February where their Twitter banner would be desaturated a bit. I still remember finding out about this myself when I was browsing the band's Twitter for a bit, then had to go to online class. And after that I came back to notice that the banner was a bit lighter than what I remember. I wasn't sure if that's exactly what happened or if my mind was just playing tricks on me. Eventually I saw that more people were noticing as well, and I was just like, phew, I haven't gone crazy yet. This became a weekly thing where every Wednesday, the band's Twitter banner would be more and more desaturated, and it would eventually end up being gray and the 21 Pilots logo had completely faded out, which basically signified the end of the Trench era. Now, we were looking towards the era of The Scaled and Icy era was definitely one of the more strange, but also fun eras of 21 Pilots. Half a month after the band's Twitter banner got fully desaturated and the logo had disappeared, the DMA.org website that had all of Clancy's letters and images surrounding Dima were inverted. So it went from this to this, and a progress bar had appeared saying that it was deleting files. Just 3 days later, all of these files were successfully deleted. Many theorized that because the fans posted about these hidden websites going against what we were told to do in the 404 error website, which was to keep quiet about them, the bishops found out about the sites and were erasing the evidence. So basically, it's our fault this happened. Anyways, an hour before the files were to be deleted, the Blurryface Twitter account broke its 4-year silence and simply tweets, "The name of the new record is Scaled and Icy." The DMA.org page was eventually replaced with this. The infraction number at the bottom can be decoded to read, "Clancy is dead," which ends up being something that we'll see a handful of times in this era. This phrase was actually hinted at back in 2020 when Tyler made a thank you video that was included in the flash drives that were sent to those who solved those codes early on. It's seen in the background on a TV that is shown through some cryptic symbols. Back to the deleted page. So if you were to hover over the O in the word offender, it would change into the O with a slash that the band is known for using. Clicking on this would reveal 3 posters that would show up one by one in rotating order. Now, there it was. The band's very first announcement of this new record, titled Scaled and Icy, discovered by us the fans. Ugh, dang it! Sorry, I dropped the title. Hang on, let me fix it. I think I did it wrong. Yeah, so it turns out the title is also an anagram for Clancy is dead. Wait a minute. Scaled and Icy. Scaled and Icy. S-A-I. We were warned! So, the in-universe explanation for all of this, if you couldn't gather it already, is that the bishops are using the band as a form of propaganda to tell us, vinylism isn't that bad, come on now. They even changed the logo to a completely new one that we've never seen before. Alongside the announcement of the album came the announcement of some sort of live stream concert called the Livestream Experience. 3 singles would soon be released in the span of a month and a half: Shy Away, Choker, and Saturday, with Shy Away probably being my favorite of the 3. Scaled and Icy finally released on May 21st, 2021. I bought it, listened to it, and even though I didn't think it was as good as Trench, I still had a good time with it. The reception overall for this album was pretty mixed, with some loving it to some genuinely hating it. I was more in the liked it side of things, probably because I kept my expectations in check once I saw the announcement posters and understood they were going for a more lighthearted kind of sound, especially coming out of quarantine. But I can also see why people were disappointed since it had been almost 3 years since Trench, and all we got was a short album that wasn't as hard-hitting as the previous one. I do think this one grew on people eventually, but the first few months were definitely rough for Psy. But hey, at least the livestream experience was well received by fans, and I gotta say, I was blown away by how well this concert was put together. From the set pieces, to the hidden Easter eggs, to the fact that this whole thing was live despite feeling pre-recorded. They were even sponsored by Chipotle, where they were serving 21 Pilots burritos for a few days before the livestream was held. And they were actually pretty good. Yeah, I'd be lying if I said that this era didn't feel like a fever dream. Anyways, 2021 was also the year that the band's second album, Regional at Best, would have its 10-year anniversary. And what did the band do to celebrate this grand occasion? Released the Saturday music video! Yay! Don't get me wrong, the video was still great since it was probably the first music video in a while to tie directly to the lore. In this video, Tyler, Josh, and their backup band are performing to a group of people in a submarine. You know, fun stuff. Then, the dragon that we've only seen in the album cover and promos and whatnot appears and crashes into the sub, causing it to flood and sink. Yeah, that's pretty much all that happens, nothing too crazy. Fun fact, at the very end of the video, we can see that there were 21 survivors, including Tyler and Josh. Just a neat little detail. The video itself was released on July 8th, same day as Regional Best's birthday, which was intentional. Gotta keep in mind that nothing's really a coincidence with these guys. Even though I was a bit disappointed that the band didn't really do anything to celebrate Regional Best, not even a tweet about it or anything, I can kind of understand why, since it's possible that if they were to give it attention, the over-speculative fans may think that the band is planning to do something with it. At least that's what I think. Moving along, in September, 21 Pilots were getting ready to go on tour. So, to promote said tour, they held an in-game concert in the game Roblox. I'm surprised they didn't go with Fortnite, since that game was still pretty popular at the time, but honestly, I'm glad this is what they chose instead. I had a fun time, not only in the concert itself, but even checking out the venue and doing the scavenger hunt to earn free items. December soon comes through, and the band releases a music video for Christmas Saves the Year. Something I liked about this video in particular was that it utilized claymation, so that was a nice touch. Also, Ned actually comes back in this video, and this is the first time we actually see him in this era. I forgot to mention this beforehand, but early on in the era, Ned was said to have gone missing for whatever reason. Likely hiding from the bishops if you ask me. The same week the Christmas Saves the Year video was released, 21 Pilots announced that they were working on a music video for another Scaled and Icy song, The Outside. That's all they really gave us at that time. 2021 heads out and 2022 comes in. In March, we finally started getting teasers for the Outside music video, which showed us that this would actually be a continuation of the Saturday video. In addition, the DMA.org website was back after being terminated for almost a year. With this return came some new images such as a map of the world of Trench. I originally thought Trench was the name of the Bandito group, but no, it turns out it's the name of the continent or world that this story takes place in. And what's that? A letter from Clancy? So yeah, Clancy turned out to be alive after all, and the bishops were just lying to make us lose hope. Okay, now this part of the story gets a bit confusing since this letter reveals to us that Clancy was captured by the bishops and was forced to write Scaled and Icy, under the surveillance of a few bishops of course. I say a few because Clancy states that it was never all 9 at once who would be watching him write. Sometimes 3, sometimes 8, as he put it. Plus, Nico, the leader of the bunch, was never there to watch him. He then describes the events of the era so far, such as the livestream experience and the submarine sinking in the Saturday music video. And everything that was said seemed to line up with what in-universe Tyler had experienced. With this, people theorized that A, Tyler had been Clancy this whole time and he used the name to hide his identity from the bishops. Or B, Clancy was just a pen name and that was passed on from person to person, and Tyler was the latest person to have it right before the creation of Scaled and Icy. I personally think that theory A is the most accurate one, but nothing has been confirmed as of now, so who knows really. The music video for The Outside finally released in mid-March, and wow. After I watched it, it had become my second favorite music video that 21 Pilots had ever made, with number 1 being Nico and the Niners. There's a lot to unpack here, so I'll try and summarize it as best as I can. So this video shows us that one of the bishops named Keons had betrayed the group and was the one who caused the sub to sink by possessing the dragon and having it crash into it. The group of bishops then end up killing Keons. We still don't know why Keons did what he did, although Clancy has written about how he is the more sympathetic one out of the 9 bishops, so that's likely part of it. Meanwhile, Tyler and Josh end up on an island and meet with a bunch of Neds, one of which gives Tyler their antlers that give him the ability to possess Keons. Tyler starts taunting the other bishops through Keons' body, and then breaks a neon light that makes Keon's body disappear. After this video came out, one last letter, for now at least, revealed that those who have the antlers are able to possess empty vessels, as Clancy put it. So, dead bodies, basically. Which explains why Tyler was able to possess Keon's body, and revealed that the dragon wasn't alive, which is what allowed for Keon's to possess it. The most important thing, however, is that this shows us why the bishops enforced vialism in the first place, to achieve immortality by using the bodies of those who have fully committed to vialism. Bodies decay, however, as shown in the livestream experience, which is why they need so many. This had me and many others excited to see what comes next. However, this is all we'd get for now, as this was basically the setup for the endgame of the Dima storyline, which is confirmed to be ending in the next upcoming album.
It will be the last record of this story.
Later that April, Tyler had his second kid, Junie. Also that same month, the band announced that to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Skilled and Icy, they would screen the live stream experience from 2021 in movie theaters worldwide for 2 days in May, and renamed it as the
Cinema Experience.
I was super hyped to watch my favorite band at the movie theater that the moment tickets went on sale, I instantly went to buy them. It was originally going to be just me and my close family who'd go and watch this on the first day of showings. However, we decided to wait until the second day of showings so that my cousins and their family could join. For the movie itself, man, not only was it really great to relive this concert on the big screen, but I also loved seeing that they added behind the scenes footage and even old footage from the early days of the band. After that, nothing crazy happened for a while. The band just continued to tour and performed at an MTV Unplugged session. It wasn't until November that we started getting hints that this era would soon be coming to an end. On the last show of their tour, Tyler said,
This is our last show for a long time, so...
And at the end of that month, Tyler went to his Instagram stories and gave us info on the audio from the band's MTV Unplugged session that would be coming to streaming services. And the second story was this.
Also, I'm excited about the music that I'm working on.
Moving on, the day before 2022 was ready to head out, Tyler made a post on Instagram reflecting the last year or so, the many people he met, and the experiences he had while performing shows. Then, at the end of the post, he writes, "And that concludes Sigh." Tyler had officially ended the Skilled and Icy era. Now we reach the current year, 2023. 21 Pilots celebrated the 10-year anniversary of their album Vessel in January, with a live stream where they did activities such as having Tyler and Josh's dads guess the name of certain Vessel songs, or watching old videos they made while touring. Even Tyler played acoustic versions of all of the songs on Vessel, although Josh was busy setting up his drum kit, so he wasn't around during these. But they finally acknowledged Regional at Best! Oh my gosh! Wait, doesn't exist?
I know some people might not like this, but I kind of view Vessel as our first record.
Yeah, I feel like...
Tyler considers Vessel to be their first album!
No!
All jokes aside, I personally wasn't a huge fan of this when I first heard it, and even now I'm still a bit bitter about it. But I can somewhat see where Tyler and Josh were coming from. The self-titled album was made with different members, while Regional at Best was already almost complete once Josh joined, and the old bandmates Chris and Nick had left. So Vessel was the first album that Tyler and Josh worked on all the way through in a professional studio, rather than a basement. But hey, at least they played a brand new song for us at the end of the stream.
Thank you. New song. It'll be available tonight, I think. Great. Go ahead.
No, he didn't. He duped us. He duped us. Can't believe this guy.
And that takes us to the present day, where we are patiently waiting for the next album to be teased. I've seen a few people hope that this will be a summer release, but I'd be willing to wait for a mid to late fall release if it meant that 21 Pilots can make their next album the best that it can be. In conclusion, I love 21 Pilots to death, and they have given me lots of fond memories over the past 7 to 8 years. I loved seeing how much they've grown from era to era, and I am very happy to call them my favorite band of all time. They've shown how much they care for their fans, from creating a connection with them in concerts, to having a hidden narrative for us fans to uncover, to straight up telling us that we're a part of them. Saying at the end of every show,
We're 21 Pilots and so are you.
I not only look forward to the next album and seeing the conclusion to the Dima storyline, but to the future as well. Who knows, maybe they'll tell a new story. Although, I'm sure me and many other fans will be lured out after all that, and may prefer that they go back to making music for the sake of making music. No hidden story whatsoever. Even I may need a break from seeing some people overanalyzing things. Either way, whatever comes next, best believe I'll be there to experience it. Hey, you made it to the end. Good for you. Or maybe you skipped to the end, which is also fine as well. Either way, I hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I had fun making it. Also, I just wanted to remind you that I have left a couple links in the description in case you want to have a deeper look at the Dima storyline, because I do think it is interesting and worth checking out, but that's if you're interested. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to say, and anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you whenever I see you. Take care.